All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming to this latest installation of Speaking from the Margins. Today we're going to hear from EKU's deaf and hard of hearing community. I'm going to be the moderator. My name is Laura Edwards. I am a librarian here at the library. And I'm just going to take this moment to let our panelists introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Brittany. This is my sign name. Hi, I'm Alexia Moser. This is my sign name. Hi, I'm Jemima Chong. This is my sign name.
And if we could just go back around, I think each of you could maybe share a little bit more about where you're from, where did you go to school, and how did you get here? Could you tell your story?
Sure. I'm from Arkansas. Graduated in 2008. Moved to Hawaii. I was there for quite a while. And then I went to Gallaudet University for 2 years and then transferred to NTID. RIT is the major college. I have a 4-year degree in designing there. So I mean, our teacher that realized, you know, with technology and computers the way it is, I thought I'd go ahead and become a computer design teacher. I really enjoyed designing to a degree, but then I decided it was not my thing. I didn't want to sit all day long. So I went back to Hawaii. Was there for a while, met someone from Kentucky, and then ended up moving here, had a baby, and then realized I couldn't really just stay at home without some kind of degree. I needed something to do. I wanted to find some kind of employment. So I went ahead and came to EKU. They had a deaf ed program, an interpreting ASL program, and so I decided to come to EKU. And so we moved here from Albany, Kentucky.
I graduated from Kentucky School of the Deaf in 2013. I was not really raised in one specific place, but kind of raised from all over the state. I wanted some good education, and so my parents were really seeking that out for me. I could sign. There were places I could sign, but there wasn't really a great educational opportunity for me. So I thought that so they told me I needed to go into KSD, and I was a little bit behind in language, so we progressed in that. And around 6th grade, actually met a person, Rebecca Kreitzer, who I just kind of felt who knew that I was language deprived and knew that I needed to catch up with my English and as well as my signing. So I was able to actually start picking up a little bit more language. And with language deprivation, I knew that in the future college or work or other opportunities would require a better foundation of language. So I'm really thankful for that opportunity. Coming to EKU, on the other hand, really, I had no idea that that's what I wanted to do. At first, I was going to go to university for studying families, and then I decided to come to EKU, and I've been here ever since. So.
I'm from Malaysia. Grew up there. I was homeschooled there. I was the only person who was deaf in my family, and so everyone spoke around me, and I didn't know any sign language. It was about, I guess, 3 years ago, 2016, I came. God, he has his ways and worked things out the way they ended up. I came here to these States. Ended up in Kentucky at the Kentucky School for the Deaf, and I was really thankful to have been placed there. I went there to high school, learned sign language while I was there, really became immersed into the culture and the language and just really loved it. Graduated from there, and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do in terms of going to college or what, or live with my host family here in the U.S. or I wanted to be close. EKU was close. I decided to come here. I got a thought about going to UK with there are other students here, and they had an interpreting program here, and note takers and stuff like that. So I thought, why not give it a try and see what it was like.
Thank you for sharing your story. So I think as I ask these questions, you guys can just each take your turn answering the question. So the first question is, what are some misconceptions about deaf and or hard of hearing people that you think need to be addressed?
What need to be addressed? Let me know if I'm not quite answering what you're looking for. Growing up, I never felt like I was bothered by how people saw me as being deaf, because I was born to a family that could hear. I've been part of that, culture. I always knew I could do anything. It wasn't until I got out of high school that I truly had experience of people having a misconception about deaf people and deaf community. It's a pretty big issue, out in the world. It was a really wake-up call for me, because I realized I had to stand up for myself. That's the biggest thing.
So I was born into a hearing family, and people were just, and I could actually hear myself, and people found out I was deaf. People were doting on me, they thought I was hearing, but as I found out I was deaf, they said, oh, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that. There were a list of tons of things from A to Z that people said I wouldn't be able to do. So looking at that, deaf people have sight. There are plenty of things that we can do. We have the skills and different ways we need to approach things. So, for example, I could swim underwater that deaf people, and be able to communicate, where hearing people would not be able to do that, right? I can sign and hear people. If you're in a crossing at a bar, I can sign across a bar and everybody will still be able to understand what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if loud music or not. So we've got a lot of benefits that the hearing community does not have. So it just depends on how you want to show that and then show that off.
Really, it was like, I'm kind of like Brittany. I didn't really notice anything about the misconceptions until, just not too long ago, when I was in my freshman year. I started to realize that people have these misunderstandings. People thought that because I couldn't hear, I could automatically read lips, which is not an easy thing to do. And there's a lot of miscommunication in lip reading when you even do that. I can speak, however, I can't hear real well. When I'm one-on-one with someone, like with a staff person, and when I talk to them, like, oh, deaf people can talk, and they assume I can talk and hear, and that's not quite the case. Sometimes I need help. It doesn't mean that, if a person can talk and has a hearing loss, it doesn't mean they also can hear. And if I could add something,
Sure.
A lot of people, let's say I'm hard of hearing or deaf, but if I can speak, people seem to think that I'm not deaf. But it's just the way I can communicate. It takes a lot of educating. I went to public schools. I learned how to read lips, as opposed to at the deaf school where it's primarily sign language. But we go home to these families who can't sign, so we have to talk. So even though we're deaf, we get by. We do what we need to do.
So could you guys share what have been your biggest challenges as a college student?
For me, having a child and being out of school for a while, it's been the biggest challenge for me. Being a full-time mom and a full-time student, like I said, those things aren't barriers. However, as long as I have, my fiance helping me through this, and he's pretty much he's full-time, parent at home. I'm going to school, I feel like, you know, we have a good balance. We share the load equally, and I think that makes for a good future. But it is a big challenge being a full-time mom and a full-time student. What was the question again?
What has been your biggest challenges as a college student?
Our biggest challenge? Well, to be honest, you know, I really was interested in going to college. I didn't think I was smart enough. However, you know, I didn't have family who went to college, so this was like a very new thing. I didn't want to follow any particular person's path, you know, or even what they said. You know, Samantha Fowler, her parents really encouraged me for years to go to college. And, you know, I was at KSC, I was like, I don't know about this college thing. But I thought, you know, I went to BCTC for a little while, wasn't real happy. You know, they didn't have, I wanted more where there was more socializing, the dorms, they didn't have that kind of stuff at BCTC, so I left there. And people were like, oh, come to EKU, come to EKU. I thought it was going to be the same kind of thing as KSD, because, you know, we had dorms there and there's dorms here. They're like, no, it's totally different, and you got more responsibilities, and you're more independent, and you can, you know, do all kinds of stuff, meet all kinds of people. So like, okay, I might give that a try. So I went to orientation, you know, tour the campus and all that, and it seemed okay. The first couple of years, it was pretty challenging because, you know, all the responsibilities and, you know, no parents there to look after you and tell you what to do or whatever. And, you know, I just kind of stepped back, kept at it, keeping the faith and persevering and, you know, getting through it. And, you know, I'm making it. You know, 5 years, here I am.
Well, for me, it's, the social aspect has really been difficult. Socializing with hearing people, trying to communicate that way, that's been difficult. And other than that, going to like big events, things that are going on last minute, if there's no time to request an interpreter to come, trying to go there and just not really understanding anything that was going on. That was a huge challenge for me. You know, you can't go to things last minute. That's been rough.
So on the flip side, what has been some of your biggest successes while here at AKU?
Well, for me, EKU, some of my successes would be the access that you have, access to interpreters, note takers, deaf people that you can socialize with. Really, that's been one of the strongest parts of my education here. There's no isolation. Where I'm more motivated to get finished with school here and to get my degree, I'm really excited about that aspect of it. So that's been a huge motivation for me. So if I think of other successes, I'll add it on as they speak. Well, not her. You should be ready. Okay, some successes. Okay. So I went into EKU with the Disney College project in 2007. For 1 year, it seemed that there was the access was different. I was actually accepted into that program because the higher-ups thought that I was qualified, so I was able to get in. But it was really frustrating for me at that in that perspective. So they called me hearing impaired in that program. Yeah, they called me hearing impaired. So I was really encouraged at that point to kind of just stick to it, roll up my sleeves, and just get it done. And even tell them that I'm deaf. I'm not hearing impaired. I can still learn and still do what I need to do. And the higher-ups there wanted a presentation. Well, during a presentation, they said I was hearing impaired. I said, no, I'm deaf. It's just like being, you know, hearing. But it was a lot of work. I did enjoy learning, meeting different people in that program. Met a lot of people from different countries there, and from a variety of countries: Japan, Australia, And there was tons of language there, and it was very fascinating for me to be able to learn different sign languages, even like British Sign Language, and seeing people work through different gestures and things like that. So I was very happy to be able to continue through that, and graduated that program. I was actually really sad to to leave it, and now I'm working on getting my degree, and this is family here. So.
I think EKU is very accepting. Oh, I never thought EKU would accept me. I graduated from Connecticut School for the Deaf. As the top student of my class, and I was really shocked and didn't expect that. Came into EKU. I thought it was going to be really tough. All these new experiences. But I did well with them. I did well with my grades. I got all A's fall semester. Yay, right. And still working hard towards my goal.
Okay, that's great. So could you guys share some of the sources of support at EKU that have helped you?
Sure, our friends, family, the professors. Everyone's been very supportive. And also, I gotta take care of myself as well. So I support myself. Same kind of thing, basically. I do want to thank the SLIE department. They, they have experience of people going through, EKU and graduating, and all the challenges that are out there. Even in areas of communication, stuff like that, they give advice and explain things in a way that makes sense. And because sometimes you get lost, even though being independent, you still need help from time to time. And I feel like that's been part of my family, and they've been very supportive. And they're like, don't give up on your dreams. Keep doing what you're doing. And they've really been there, a big part of my heart. For me, being willing. For EKU to provide student accessibility. There's not one specific thing, but I'm just so thankful to providing the interpreters, the note takers, professors being helpful, and understanding that just because we're deaf, we can do what the other students are doing. And deaf students can be successful just like any other student here at EKU.
Well, I'm down to one more question. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share about either your experiences here at EKU or?
Sure, I would like to add that when I get that degree, I will definitely feel that I have succeeded here at EKU through my graduation. And let's just say, I second that. I really want to have that degree to show I've done this, and I'm looking forward to tossing that cap. And also, EKU, experiences here. I came recently in the fall, and I'd already, kind of senior level here at EKU. But whatever I have left to do, I want to finish those classes and graduate. And also, one thing, being in a classroom full of students who came here, you do have to request an interpreter. Because the teachers don't know how to sign, so we have to have someone in there with a professor. And then it can be challenging at times because being deaf, it's normal for deaf students to be in the classroom where other deaf students are used to it, having teachers that can hear. And you went to Kansas City, so you had some teachers that could sign. At a school for the deaf, we have teachers who are deaf, or teachers who can at least sign for themselves, or had deaf parents who can, so they learn from their parents. But you'd have that signing environment, from deaf adults to deaf students, which is truly best for deaf students. And we had access to everything, like at School for Deaf, compared to like a university like EKU, where you don't have that. It's mostly people who don't know how to sign. We have to work through the system and figure out what we need and how to give what we need and have that accessibility. to everything else. And whether it be through friends or classmates who learn to sign to communicate with us or whatever, it's been great having that experience here as well, to go through that with you guys.
Did you two have anything that you wanted to share or add to that?
Really, I'm so thankful for EKU because they provide that accessibility. You just assume or think that, that they all do, but EKU's just been so welcoming, and that was such a big relief to have that accessibility, and Jemima sent me as well.
Okay. Well, I have just one more question. Could you guys share what are your future plans?
All right, I'll go. Future plans, I would like to get that degree. That's really my goal, but I probably would like to get a master's degree at some point, but I don't know in what. But, I just gotta figure out what it is I want to do. I know I've changed my major a bunch of times. That's no secret, but I will find what works for me and be successful at it. It's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are or what's going on. You don't give up on your dreams. You just keep pursuing them.
Do you have anything you want to say about your future plans?
It's unpredictable this time. It's really hard to say. But I would like to be able to teach children who can hear sign language. Hopefully that would be something I can do someday. I still got plenty of time until I graduate. I think at one point, right now I'm just focusing on studying it, and I know God will kind of lead me where I need to be.
Do you want to take questions from the audience, or? Does anybody have any questions for the panel? I've got the one back there.
How can we as students make you feel more comfortable or break down that barrier?
I'm happy you asked that question. I really would like to see that bridge built between us, between the community of people who can hear and those who are deaf. We all do things our own way, but we can, work together. There's simple ways like learning, a little bit of sign, or just even if you can't sign, gesture. That second best. Or if neither of those, we can write back and forth. We can text back and forth on our phones, things like that. Those are easy ways to build that bridge. Then also, the gesturing. A lot of people who are deaf understand gesturing. Like obviously, what I just did was, you want a drink. Some people sign that for chicken or whatever. But gesturing. The big thing is that you're willing. Is there's a willingness there, and when you have that willingness, you pick up so much that way. And it's all individually. How you do things. It's your own thing, but we're always happy to help. Yeah, don't be afraid to say hi.
Any other questions from the audience?
Do you feel like if teachers knew how to sign, it would be better for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But if they don't, that's okay. Whether they sign or cannot sign, that's okay too. The big thing, if it's American Sign Language, that's the big thing. That you realize it's American Sign Language and it's a language. They're both, whether you can sign or not, English, American Sign Language, they're equal.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
My question's for Jemima. I'm very curious, before you came over to the United States and you were in Malaysia, how did you communicate?
Speaking.
Okay.
My first language is English, so we communicate in English. However, most of the time, I depended on my parents primarily my mom, because she understood my accent. I would be with her, and a lot of times I didn't say too much, and I didn't sign much at all. Often for deaf people growing up, reading lips and can't hear, once they come to school, like Kentucky School for the Deaf, and learn how to sign, they don't talk as much because they start signing and their signing improves. And then I also like to add that I had speech therapy for a few years, so there was that too.
Any other questions?
How can we make resources on campus more welcoming?
I don't see any problems with it as it is. We're like you. We have our own lives, do our own thing. The biggest difference is just how we communicate. You guys can hear, we can. Any other questions? We're open to them. I can't talk. My voice is shot. Sorry. So maybe you could talk a little bit about, I'm sure you all every day have some of your own accommodations. What are some, you have your personal accommodations, things you might not realize or things you just overlook. For example, for me, I tend to sit close to the front of the room, or I will, I typically hear better from the right side, so I will try to get to the side to where I can hear better. Things like that, or even people think like, how do you drive? Which, that's one of those misconceptions. People think deaf people can't drive because they can't hear. What are some of your own accommodations that you make living in a culture where everyone can hear? Like when I go to a restaurant, fast food, say I go to McDonald's or Taco Bell, or you go through that the drive-through. They got the sign there. You'll write something or put something on your phone, because I don't talk. Through the drive-through, can't place that order like that. You know what I'm talking about, right? You place your order, tell them what you want. Yeah, typically I just have it on my phone and just show it to the person at the cash register. Or when I go to a grocery store, whatever, people try to talk to me because I think I'm ignoring them. It's just I didn't hear them, so I didn't realize they were addressing me. And some of my friends will laugh because they think I've ignored them, and then they'll later tell me that they were trying to talk to me. I was like, oh, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't realize they were talking to me. And so things like that. Sometimes people don't realize, you can't look at a person always and realize that they're deaf. And I've noticed, in regards to that too, at the restaurants, the big thing is, funny thing is police officers, have the music blaring in the car. The police officers come by, they'll say something, and you're like, what? I can't hear you. What? And you're like, just turn it down, and I'm like, what? And then they'll drive off. I'm like, what were they talking about? And then after they're gone, I realized what was going on. They're talking about the volume of the music or whatever. And they don't know I'm deaf, and I didn't realize how loud it was because I'm deaf. So, there's that. Got the music going, and to me it's fine, and people think I can hear because obviously I'm playing music, but sometimes I forget I gotta turn the music down. That was a funny story. And then, one time I was at EKU. I hate sitting in the front of the class. So let me just tell you. And the teacher was like, "Where's the deaf student? Where's the deaf student?" And they were looking around. I'm like, "Hey, I'm over here. I'm the deaf student." Like, "Oh, okay." And then deaf students typically sit in the front. And I asked them if I had to. Like, "No, you don't have to." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I will." It's okay. It worked out. But sometimes I'll sit in the front. But I'd much rather sit in the back. I do not like sitting up front. I feel like the interpreter teacher's on top of me. I like to have my space. In the space. As an experience. I'm still kind of new to this whole thing. They've had a lot more user experience with it all than I have, but you know, I'm still learning like how to be independent as a deaf student. You know, I'm flexible. You know, there's times it's really hard, but you know, I learned how to make those accommodations and figure out what I need to do to make it a better situation, or when I need to address an issue or something like that. And that can be hard at times, but you know, the important thing is to be flexible, and I'm still learning. Another things too is, you know, one good pro is that, or good benefit of being deaf is you sleep well at night. It's really true. Oh yeah, this is funny. I guess it was about 2 weeks or so ago. You know, Friday they have that thing, you know, TGIF kind of thing. TGIF Fridays up in Lexington. I was 26, and a bunch of us got together for my birthday, and me and my best friend and all of us, we all went up there to eat. Got there, waiting on a few more people to get there, and the server's like, here's all your stuff. And the server came up, and a friend of mine was like, they're asking, you know, gestured for a menu, so the server went to go get the menu, brought the menu, and they thought the picture were large and normal, which I think is a big deal, but then I looked to open up that menu, and it was a Braille menu. and the server was all shaken up because they thought we were offended, but it's like, we don't need a Braille menu. You know, I have to ask for anything that night. She gave us everything we wanted. Came non-stop, and she felt so guilty for bringing us a Braille menu. We were just happy to get all the, you know, she's on top of everything. 36 years old and still getting a Braille menu. I got another story. It's about being in the bathroom. But, so, you know, I was in the bathroom doing, you know, what we gotta do in the bathroom, and someone came up in that other stall. And it was really weird because I thought someone was banging on the stall. It was like they were banging on the stall was shaking. I was like, what's going on? I was trying to figure out what in the world is going on. And so I was like, I don't want to, like, you know, I don't want to like, crawl under there and see what's going on or anything. And I was like, I don't know about this. So I started to get up. I thought, no, I'm just going to say, oh, this is all toilet paper. They need toilet paper. So they need toilet paper. So I was like, wow. I handed something underneath the stall and they grabbed it real forcefully. I was like, what in the world? And I was trying to think. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was trying to figure out why were they so upset. But apparently they're asking for toilet paper. I was mad. It happens. Any other questions? So Jemima, you're from another country, from Malaysia, and then how's it being different? How's it different between Malaysia and the United States? What have you noticed the differences? So, you know, growing up in Malaysia, I really didn't even realize I was deaf. I didn't realize that was even an identity kind of thing. It wasn't until I came to the U.S. that I realized that I am a deaf person. And I thought, wow, America has all this accessibility for people who are deaf and all these opportunities for people who are deaf. And just looking back at my time in Malaysia, you know, deaf people are truly oppressed there. And, you know, I went back for a summer, this past summer I went back to Malaysia, and it was not easy at all. It was a lot harder going back because there was no accessibility there. It was hard to see deaf people there too. You know, I meet deaf people, and you know, they have low-paying jobs. All these things. You know, it's just like wow. I see what's here in America, being deaf in America, and the benefit of being here. It's so different. And so, you met people in Malaysia who were deaf now, and do they sign different, or? Well, before I came to the U.S., they were pretty much incorporating ASL into their sign language is Malaysian culture, kind of with American Sign Language. And then they also have Malaysian Sign Language, which I don't know though. I don't know Malaysian Sign Language. So you moved here from, Brittany, you moved here from Hawaii. So when you got here, did you notice any differences with the sign language, the regional signs? Kentucky specifically related signs versus signs in Hawaii? Oh yeah, Hawaii has a lot of like American Sign Language with universal signs. People from other countries come into Hawaii and they bring in their international signs into the American Sign Language, so it gets incorporated. So yeah, Kentucky definitely has their own accent, so to speak, sign language accent, style of signing, terminology. So yeah, Arkansas is probably closer to Kentucky in terms of signing, but every state has some regional signs and accents, just like people speaking have in different states. Any other questions? John, Jenny?
I get this question a lot. What if a student or teacher, someone wants to learn sign language, but they can't take a full semester class in EKU? How can they learn sign language?
Yeah, okay, so if the classes are full or whatever, there's other things you can do, you know, there's, like for example, Janet Noel and I, we go work at the Kentucky, work at the School for the Deaf for ASL community classes. It's, you know, it's a volunteer thing, and they have social events there, like classes are full. You can still socialize with deaf people and learn through that way. There's stuff in Lexington. There's other kinds of events, social events you can go to. So there's other things you can do. If you get on the web, Facebook, reach out to the people there. ASLE department has information on upcoming events. The big thing is kind of like tonight. We have socials twice a month at Purdy's.
And at Lexington Fayette Mall, they have a deaf social there. I think that's on Fridays. It's every other Friday. Purdy's has an event as well. KCDHH has a group that has information there as well. There's a lot of information out there that you can take just short-term classes for the summer, where you can learn ASL in there. There's a lot of different ways that you can learn, but the most important thing and the best way to improve is actually just socializing. So, LS Sign Language Network of Kentucky. Sorry about that. They teach classes at Sign Language Network of Kentucky. And also spending time in the sign lab that we have here can really improve your skills as well. Or Jemima says, if you feel like you don't have any time to really go and hang out with deaf people, you can find maybe a deaf person in your class, or maybe wherever you work there is a deaf person there, and you can just even talk and learn from that one individual person. So there is potential out there. It's better than nothing. The most important thing is to go to events, I believe. And you'll see posters all around with different events listed on there. So there's just a huge list of different things that you can learn from. In ASLA, the American Sign Language Association, American Sign Language Association, yes. And the president is actually here. Brian, well, I'm sorry, the advisor, not the president, Brian Bowen I'm alumni of ASLA, so they have different events hosted here on campus, and the advisor is Brian, so you can actually reach out to him and he'll be able to help you out with that too. So, whew.
And maybe we can, I work in the library, I'm Kelly Smith, and I'm one of the organizers of this event. And we can post some of your suggestions for people to the Facebook page and get that out. So if there's any more you think of, let us know. And I have a question.
Did you take that down, Brian? Did you see that?
So actually, Laura didn't mention this, but Laura works with me, and she's hard of hearing. So a lot of what I've learned about the deaf community that I had no idea about before was from a coworker. And so maybe there might be some people here tonight who aren't familiar with a lot of the identity and cultural aspects of the deaf community. Would any of you like to just talk a little bit about that?
Well, sure. I identify as deaf, definitely. I choose not to use my voice. I don't want to. It doesn't matter that I had speech classes as a child. I prefer to use sign language. That's what I understand. You have something you want to add? So, you talk about speech therapy growing up. You did have speech therapy, but now you choose to use sign language. That speech therapy, did that help? Do you feel like that helped to speak smoother, more fluently? No, they just put a paper in front of their mouth and move their lips. I'm just like, okay, cool, yeah, that's fine. So you didn't feel like speech therapy was successful for you. Do you feel like that was language deprivation? Yes. I feel like, yeah, I do feel like speech therapy is language deprivation. I'm pretty saying for me, it was a nice opportunity for me to understand speech therapy with the purpose of that, and be able to use my voice if I needed to, and to understand how that works. But like I said, I learned that at a deaf school, so it wasn't depriving me of language because I had language at the same time that I was learning. And to add what she was saying, at KSD we did have speech therapy, but in elementary school we did. That was not deprivation of language, because they really supported us to use both languages there. In high school, I look back and I was realizing that I was actually incorporating the deaf community and the deaf culture into my own experiences at a young age. So really, did that deprive me? Or high school was very different than elementary in that aspect? And however you identify yourself, that's if it's deaf or hard of hearing, whether you use your voice or not, whatever your preference is, signing, you know, that's awesome. If you want to use hearing aids and speak, that's fine. And you never learn sign, then unless you're thinking about like hard of hearing later, like losing your hearing, if you're going to lose your hearing more in the future, it may be more difficult for you to understand what other people are saying. It may be nice to start learning sign language at the same time as speaking. So, right. And Jemai was saying, in addition to what they're saying, honestly, the deaf community of people is a variety, a varied group of people. Everyone has their own preferences, their own labels. How they identify themselves is going to be differently for each individual. And also people with hearing losses, sometimes speech therapy helps, but honestly, even within that group, there's a variety of people there. So there's really no way of knowing. Everyone is different. We're all individuals. Everyone has their own unique way of approaching life. So. And honestly, the most important thing is respecting everyone. Respect is the key point. That's the end of the story.
Yeah, and I'll just speak up since Kelly outed me. So I lost my hearing when I was a baby, so I'm deaf in my right ear, and I'm severely hard of hearing in my left. So when I was little, I learned sign language. So at that time, because I'm older than you all, I think that the focus is more on really emphasizing speech and kind of helping you mainstream into the main culture. So that's kind of the path that my parents put me on. So that's why I grew up talking, and that's kind of how I how I interact with people. I know a little bit of sign language, but I just don't use it a whole lot. So that's kind of, I just wanted to speak and say that's, that's kind of the breadth of the deaf and hard of hearing culture. It's all different. Yep. I think we're kind of getting close. Are we getting close to the end of time? Or
About 10
10
minutes.
minutes? Is there any other additional questions? Or?
Really, you have to think about what parents, whatever they think is best for their children. Most parents prefer to use cochlear implants, or some parents prefer hearing aids or speech therapy. That's, it all varies. Some people have really strong deaf roots in their family, and those children are very fortunate. They have language at an early age. It really depends on what the parents want to do for their deaf child. And as for me, growing up, I had hearing aids. My parents wanted to give me cochlear implants, but at age 16, they asked me, it's your choice, do you want to have cochlear implants or not? And I said no, and they respected that. And I think that was really important for me. That's when I realized, for me, it wasn't really their decision. I didn't want to blame my parents for anything at that point. So we talked to the doctor, and they didn't force that on me. They just gave me the option there. And well, Brittany, honestly, what the doctors do, they focus on the ear. That's it. It's just what hearing people kind of view from the doctors. They want to fix your ear. They just want to fix your ears. There's really their options are speech therapy, cochlear implants, or hearing aids for the doctors. And doctors want money is what someone from the audience just said. So parents have to think twice before they follow in doctors' orders sometimes. So, would you mind saying yes? And really, this is very common for doctors to typically say, well, I think that deaf people need to fix their hearing. That's very typical. And honestly, it's not true. But with my parents, really, it was the first time that there was a deaf child around them. They had no idea what to do in that situation. So really, honestly, when I was born, there were no deaf people around. So I hadn't taken a hearing test at that point. But after they found out I was deaf, I was about 3 years old. And when they realized that happened, they didn't know what to do, so they met with doctors. They talked to a therapist, trying to figure out how they could help me. And my parents wanted, of course, what's best for their child. And there was no sense of the deaf culture there. So we just followed what the doctor said. So I had 2 hearing aids, and at the age of 9, I did get a cochlear implant. And when I signed, learned deaf culture and learned signing, I really can't blame my parents. Parents love their children. They want what's best for their children. And to blame them for how I am, it's exactly the same. I'm just like other deaf people. I don't see the use of the cochlear implant necessarily if I'm around deaf people, but people, each person has their own story, really. Any more questions? And one of the most important things I'd like to emphasize, and we don't want pity.
Yep.
We're just like you.
Well, that's been great, everybody. Thank you for sharing your experience, and give them a round of applause. Well, I want to talk about the movie that's going to be, what time is it going to be showing? 6:30 in room 204G, kind of that way. They're going to be showing the movie A Quiet Place. So if you want to stick around for that, feel free. Way up there.
Class.
All right, thanks everybody.